still on hack 5. It's our most massive hack. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting challenge that comes up when you get pretty good at these techniques we've been using in the first 5 hacks. And the 2 most prominent hacks, of course, have been hack 2, which was bitch slapping the beast, which shut down all the shitstorm in your head. And then hack 5, you do you, got us really good at dealing with attacks on our life force in real time. They come from other people, from external sources. Mostly people we're talking about so far. We're going to talk in hack 6 and 7 about your daily grind and your relationship with your body. What we're going to talk about today, though, is something that's somewhat unique, and that is that once you realize that you're in the foam pit dealing with the mayhem of the misfits and the beast is feeding you shitty thoughts and you start to get control of that situation, it's hard to take a lot of the aspects of life very seriously. You can't get all whipped up and anxious and depressed about all these things that used to bother you a lot. Now you're kind of sitting back, I hope, going, mayhem with the misfits. Not my circus, not my monkey. And there is a danger in this, and I've experienced it personally, and that's why I'm talking to you about it today, which is it creates a sense of detachment from life, as if you're in it but not of it, of the mayhem and the circus. And you're watching your friends, perhaps, or your loved ones get all worked up about something, and you're like, what did you expect from the foam pit? It can't bother you anymore. So you're impervious, but at the same time, you can't have the same sense of outrage that your best friend might have when her boyfriend cheats on her. After you do this for, let's say, a year, and you're pretty good at it, you might start to feel detached from reality and detached from the drama of other people's lives. And that detachament's not really unpleasant, but if you don't like it, I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts on how you can deal with that detachment and feel more empathetic and more engaged with the mayhem of the misfits in the foam pit. The first thing I'd like to say is about the folly of our fellow men. So maybe it doesn't rise to the level of mayhem every day, but there's a lot of folly around us, am I right? I think the first technique for controlling your folly in such a way that you still relate to your fellow man is to cultivate a sense of amusement so that you can start to be amused by the folly as opposed to being repulsed by it. It's like, hey, this is kind of amusing, this crazy stuff. Whether you see it in politics or interpersonal relations or social media, it's just like, oh, that's amusing. You could say, well, that's kind of funny that that person is that screwed up that they did that to you. Amusement is a little bit more lighthearted and some of the other reactions you might be having to it, which is like, don't bother me with that, that's stupid. No, it's amusing. So try it today for a couple hours when crazy shit is going on all around you, whether it's at work or at school or at home, and you're watching that stuff and you're feeling detached. Try to feel a little bit of amusement. And if you can, feel if that gets you a little bit closer to being engaged so that you're not so much in it but not of it. And you say, well, Mackieman, how can I be amused? I mean, we're talking about a planet that has serial killers, child molester, genocide, human trafficking, racism, starvation and malnutrition, climate crisis, mass extinction. You're saying, how can I be amused by this? This is ugly. Well, okay, we've got a few challenges. Actually, if you do a little research on this, the funny thing or the amusing thing is you're going to find out that mankind is in a lot better shape than we've ever been historically. People around the world are doing a lot better than they have over the last, 10,000 years. So that's kind of amusing, isn't it? So still you say, no, amusement doesn't, I don't like amusement. I'm not amused by this. Well, I'd say, okay, fair enough. How about empathy? So can you empathize or be sympathetic to people who are struggling and doing crazy shit to you and to other people in this world? Can you sort of empathize or sympathize with the beast that's driving them to do malicious things? can you say, yeah, I can understand what you're going through because I had my own beast. I was so depressed I wanted to kill myself, or I was so anxious I just couldn't leave the house. So you can relate to them and be empathetic. I think that's probably easier for a lot of us, actually, than amusement. And the last one is, in certain situations, you can actually admire somebody for how they're handling the mayhem. You know, it's not easy, as you know, to deal with the beast and the shit slingers. And you're saying, hey, that person actually looks pretty happy. They're doing a good job here. Instead of being envious of them, let's admire them and look to them for how do they manage this. Maybe they have a completely different set of belief structures, which you are now in a position to analyze and maybe adopt because you're not being driven around by the beast, right? So we've got these three things, these three techniques, which again, what are they? The first one is amusement. The second one is empathy. And the third one is admiration. So you can be engaged by calling on one of these three things. So when you're feeling like I'm so detached from all this craziness going on around me, you say, well, which one am I going to pull up? I think I'll try amusement. No. Empathy. Yeah, empathy works for me here. I can empathize with these people who are trying to get me to take their monkey and be part of their circus. I can relate to that. I'm not going to do it, but I can relate to it. See, now you're connected. So if you have other techniques, let me know, because those are the only three I've been able to come up with in order to not feel like I'm some astronaut in a spaceship who got untethered from the space station and I'm out there floating through space all by myself. I hope that you can get to the same position where you're engaged without being overwhelmed by what's going on in the foam pit. How's that sound? Talk to me. Let me know what you think. Okay?